Well, why don't we get started? I think the last two are
Here
just
we
logging
go.
now. Hi everyone. As you guys know, my name is Derik Belair. I'm co-founder and CEO here at Augmentt. Super excited to be talking with our friends at Benchmark Training. We're going to be talking about a leadership series. So this is the first of a few of these we're going to be doing. So your feedback is going to be critical for us. And really today we're going to be talking about all the aspects about building a leadership playbook, why you should do it, how to do it, what are the critical steps. So why don't we just jump right in because there's a lot of great content here.
Awesome. So we have some really great speakers. Like Derik mentioned, he is Derik, and the co-founder and CEO of Augmentt. And then we also have Indy Bollman, the best-selling author, Leadership Truth Bombs. Go ahead and grab a copy of your book if you haven't yet. It's a
Yay!
really, really great book.
Hey,
She's
everybody.
also, of course. She is also the founder of Indy Bollman Coaching and Consulting and an affiliate coach at Benchmark Training. Speaking of Benchmark Training, we have the CEO and executive coach at Benchmark Training here with us, Ben. And you can also find him at UNF as a professor of professional selling. And you
Oh
also have
yeah.
me. I'll be
Wonderful.
helping facilitate the
Yes.
webinar.
Thank
And
goodness.
Ari,
Thank
of
goodness,
course.
sorry.
All right, we love to hear from you guys. So if you guys have any questions, ask away using the Q&A feature down below. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in and we'll try to get to your questions as soon as we can. But if we don't get to your question right away, just stick around till the end of the webinar. We do have a section to answer your questions then. Speaking of questions,
Ooh.
I have one for you guys here. We like to tailor the conversations to who we have here. So I'm going to launch a poll. How many direct reports do you have? From I'm an individual contributor all the way to 11 plus.
It's like all over the place. This is great.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
it.
That's
I could
awesome.
be the 11 plus then.
That's right. Round it off for us, Derek.
Absolutely.
All right, looks like we got them all in, Ari.
Awesome. I'll go ahead and share the results with everyone. Looks
Oh,
like we don't have
yes.
any individual contributors, which is totally okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Good deal.
That's all right. Various size groups. That's great.
So let's jump in. Why are we here? Why do we have so many leaders that joined this webinar? Why do we need to build a leadership playbook?
Hmm. Well, I'll just jump in, Ben, if that's okay, because I'm
Yeah,
dying
please.
to. And welcome, everybody. I'm so happy to be here and grateful for this time with everyone. I'm looking at that main square on the right-hand side where it says that the top 3 reasons strategy implementation failed: poor communication. My tongue's not working today. Excuse me. The second one, lack of leadership, and the third one, using the wrong measure. And I just looking at that right off the bat, 2 of the 3 are overcome by developing better soft skills, leveling up those soft skills. And it's really, communication is a big part of leadership, but there are more soft skills involved with leadership. And so I think having those skills developed really, right off the bat starts to help with strategy, not only the planning, but the successful implementation. Interesting.
Yeah, and I'll say, as a business leader myself, like everybody on this call and all of you, having a playbook is all about, really understanding how you're going to go through and overcome barriers. I mean, we all have barriers in our business, whether they're short-term or long-term barriers or things that you're trying to grow or trying to acquire. A playbook is really the foundation, the blueprint of how you're going to be able to get through that. So it's an incredible,
Mm.
incredible piece of useful, information to have and to build. And one of the things I really like about this is when you think about, most of us, look at doing strategic planning, but there is a real difference between creating a strategic plan and developing a leadership playbook. And it's really important to try to understand really what those differences are.
Mm. It is. Thank you, Derek, because this is such a cool slide to me. I think this is all about how you're going to accomplish these things. And for me, the overriding word or concept is really intention. What is it we're trying to accomplish and how? You know, even in terms of the leadership playbook aspect, how do we want our people coming in every day and feeling about work and feeling about their value and their role in contributing to, you know, is the organization going to land where we're saying we all want this great big ship to go? So I think intention is huge here. And this is where a plan and a playbook really can spell that out and, you know, boost the results.
And that makes a lot of sense because, like, we're always talking about strategic planning. Like, that's the buzzword that people talk about. And you can plan all day long, but if you're not executing, if you don't have a playbook
Hmm.
on how you're going to execute, then the plan just sits there on the shelf gathering dust. And then next thing you know,
100%.
it's the end of May and the strategic plan has not been implemented. So that's not good. So, like, what do we get once we have this playbook design? What can I think of now as a leader is going, okay, I've got my playbook. Indy, what's your thought on
Mm.
that?
Well, you know, one of my two favorite words today, Ben, you're going to hear me say is clarity, and you've got that here as part of the graphic. And so, the advantages of having that playbook, you 100% long-term impact because everybody knows where they're going. You got enhanced company culture and performance. That's definitely where you want it to land, and you want it to support all that. Team accountability. That's my second word. And I'm not going to get started on it right now. We'll do that later. But I love the word accountability because I think it's
Heck
it's
yeah.
gotten a bad rap. Stakeholder engagement is stronger, and certainly that effectiveness and influence is maximized. But clarity is what gets people excited about what you're trying to do. And honestly, as a leader, it makes me feel good that I know where we're going, and I should be rather effectively communicating that and using that as part of my strategy and my playbook.
Yeah, and you know, the way I look at this, and you know, you can create a strategic plan, which is really the where do we want to get to. The playbook is the how. Like, it's the how you're going to accomplish it.
Mhm.
It's the how you're
Yeah.
going to measure yourself. It's all about the execution of that plan. So both parts are critical, but this is the how. This is how you make things.
Yeah, that's so true,
Man,
Derek. And I can see how we're going to get there if I have that playbook. Everybody can see how we're going to do it. So, again, well said.
big time. So thinking of who's on this webinar now, and whether you have 1 to 3 direct reports or 11 plus direct reports, okay, you got to set the goal. That is part of it. But really now it's like, how are you going to go about achieving it? So since you're investing in yourself and you're here right now, let's maximize your webinar experience. So it's a couple of ways for you to do that. First off, as you're taking notes, you're going to see on the next slide, we're going to go ahead and give you all 5 ingredients to designing your playbook. Write those down and leave some space for notes so that you can take note of the things that really resonate with you and that are impactful for you. The second thing, the more what we have to do here is set action items for today. Okay, so before the end of the day, whether it's before you leave the office or before you hit the bed for nighttime, make some concrete steps about how
Mhm.
you're going to build your playbook. What do you need to do to get this playbook into action? Do not go and end the day without doing that first. And then, of course, review and adjust daily as you're working through these steps here. So the 5 components to building your leadership playbook: mission critical priorities, role and impact, time optimization, it's a huge one, energy management, and accountability. Let's jump into mission critical priorities right out of the gate. Okay, so like, why do we have to look at all of these ingredients? A lot of times we see mission critical priorities. These are the things that we're talking about in the boardroom. These are the things that are part of our strategic plan, yet they're only the tip of the iceberg, right? They're only the very top part here because there's so many other components to making the mission critical priorities come to life. So Derik, definitely interested here in your perspective on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really relates well to the slide that we talked about, which is the what and the how. You know, the what is what everybody sees. It's what's above the waterline. These are, you know, where you need to get to as a business. We all have, you know, priorities for ourselves and for our business and for our team, and those are usually fairly well understood. The how you're going to accomplish that is so critical. And I would say that these 4
Mhm.
parts, they all have to be done. You will be very, very hard pressed to be able to execute on your overall goals and objectives if you don't think about everything below that, the role, the time, the energy, and I can't stress it enough, and we'll talk a lot about it, the accountability.
The accountability.
Absolutely. And it strikes me that the blue underneath the water is the foundation that all of that is sitting on top of. If you lost all of that, my guess is the mission critical priorities would sink down into the water. And just another point, real quick, I recently read in the Harvard Business Review that 61% of the executives feel they're not prepared to take on the strategic challenges when they are put in those senior leadership roles. So we have this need to grow and further a business, and we have people that are stepping into it that feel unprepared. So there is some kind of pulling everybody together and getting them ready now and for the future to do these things.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So let's dig into mission critical priorities a little bit, just to get through the surface here, really trying to figure out what are they. And these are the hot topics in the boardroom, right? This is what the C-suite is focused on, regardless of how large your team is. This is maybe what's keeping the owner up at night, the things that he or she says we have to accomplish these.
Yeah, and I'd say that it's important to focus beyond a short-term set of activities, the ones that are already in motion, the ones that you're already executing on. So these tend to be much more strategic, longer time frames. So we're talking years out. And so if you think about things that are very important to your business or to your team or to yourself, think about those things that are further away that start to require that level of intensity. So think 5 years plus.
Derik, that's so true. That 5 to 10 years out there, and when people are stepping into these senior leadership roles, if they're not also prepared or schooled or trained and knowing how to set these initiatives and to support the mission critical priorities, I mean, where are they going to come from? So they need help in defining those, and that's something that's so important. Again, we're building that foundation that everything floats on the top of, so they need to know how to do that.
Yep.
Yeah, see, where do they come from? They can't just come out of thin air. So
No, they have to
sometimes
be planned.
yeah, sometimes they're internal, right? So whether if it's I'm in the middle of the team and it's just coming top down, maybe I'm the owner or the founder and I have some investors that are helping me define what the mission critical priorities are. Or maybe they're coming from the marketplace themselves. What's happening out there externally that I need to react to and plan for and be strategic about. So a big part here is, where do we get these? And Derik, when you and I were talking about this there's an important side to both of these.
Yeah, absolutely. I tend to look at it, we as businesses and business owners, specifically in high tech, we're typically faced with a very, very rapidly changing external landscape. So new vendors, new products, new services, new regulation, new legislations. But it's important to look at both sides. So the internal piece is as important as the external piece. Being able to be very nimble and adaptable is what's going to make that external piece, have a lot of control. But you have so much influence over the sphere of what's happening internally that if you focus on both sides equally, you're much more likely to be able to achieve those priorities.
It's very true. Derik, actually, the whole world is moving fast at lightning speed. And so understanding what's expected from you to bring that alignment about and what you want to accomplish. It's great to tell the world, hey, customers and whatever, this is what we're doing. But if your people don't know internally, it's not going to go anywhere. And you want them on fire for what you're trying to accomplish.
Heck yeah, on fire. That's gonna be a theme for
I love
this
that.
part here. Like in
Love
each
that.
department. Now, in some of these smaller teams, there might be one person who owns 3, 4, 5 of these, and they're wearing all those hats. Each of these departments, each of these concepts plays a role in how we're going to achieve our mission critical priorities. And Indy, I think you hit it really hard. It's like everyone's got to be rowing the same direction. Everyone has to know where they're.
Yeah.
Ben, and I would add on this real quick that they need to understand within those departments what that role looks like for what they're trying. I mean, how does HR or finance or marketing, what is the role that they're playing? What does it really look like and how does it support that?
Yeah, Andy, that's a great point. I always sort of stress that it's important that everybody in your organization, regardless of the role or title or responsibility, understands where they fit in that puzzle that is the outcome. And it's very, very important for you as a leader to be beating that consistent drum, right? To constantly be telling the story whenever you can. I mean, you're the greatest salesman of both your company and your corporate culture. And it's important for you to constantly be reinforcing that, whether you're talking to a group or individuals, and making sure that that alignment is there all the time. You'll get sick and tired of hearing it, but the consistency in that messaging
Yeah.
is the key.
Go
Oh my
Derek.
gosh. You said
Go
you get sick
Derek.
of
I know.
yeah.
My
That
God,
like
I'm
when we
getting
think
pumped up.
about
Yeah.
okay, I'm sick of saying this over and over again. When we've reached that point as leaders, our team is just barely starting to get it. Like we got to
Mhm.
remember that's a huge
Mhm.
part, Derek.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just looking, I just want to address those first 2 points real quick. You're wanting to align everybody before you kick everything off. They need to be clear. What are we going after? What's my role in it? I may not load the cornflakes on the truck, but in my role in HR, I'm making sure we have the right people that can do that. So that's setting the tone for the team. Not only in that we're all in this together, but we're all going to do some pretty magical things. And here's how you buy in. Here's how the value that you bring to the organization matters. And again, also getting them on fire for what they're doing.
Yeah.
There's that fire again. Yeah, I love
I
that.
love it.
So
Yeah.
taking that, like, okay, got the tone, got the buy-in. What do we need to start doing? What do we need to stop doing? What actions are going to make this come to reality? We've all got to get on the same page there. And then sometimes we've got to manage disappointment. Maybe some people who thought they were going to be part of a certain initiative are not because they're better suited somewhere else. Have those conversations up front. Do not hide behind them. And your team will thank you as you embrace that conflict.
Yeah, it's such a great point. And I would say weave this into corporate culture. This is corporate culture that we're all in this. We understand the end goal. We're all part of this. And so it's so much easier to make adjustments, strategic adjustment in the business when everybody understands that that is our culture. That is who we are. That is how we operate. So use this opportunity to weave this in and increase that cohesiveness in the culture.
Mhm.
Man, that's key. If you're not doing that, then kind of like we didn't get anywhere, unfortunately.
I
So
know,
keep that
right?
in mind. Ooh, we got another
Derek is
poll
on
question.
fire. Yeah.
Let's check it out. What is this one?
Yeah, so we do have another poll question. Speaking of MCPs, what is your biggest challenge in aligning with your organization's MCPs? Is it staying focused on those high impact initiatives, or is it lack of clarity or shifting priorities?
Well, I'm anxious to see this one.
Yeah,
Too.
looking at kind of a mix over here, aligning team goals,
Ooh.
lack of clarity, managing shifting priorities from leadership. Man, we hear that one a lot. That is real life for sure.
Yeah.
Looks
I
like
wish
we
I
got
could vote,
everyone.
Ari. I feel
Wow.
left out that I can't vote.
I
Very
know.
cool. Very cool.
It
Yeah,
looks
Very
pretty-
like we've
cool.
got everyone
Ah,
answered. So I'm going to share the poll
see?
with you guys.
yeah, that lack of clarity on what truly
Clarity.
matters. That's what Derek, yeah, your favorite word, Indy. Derek was saying,
That,
like, you can't
yeah.
say it enough. You cannot repeat it enough as a
Yeah.
leader to continue to let that information cascade.
Mhm.
So let's talk about our role and the impact that we're having as a leader, right? We've got these mission critical priorities. Where do we step in? Where are we going to have the biggest impact here? There's some pretty cool tools on this one, Derek.
Yeah, I'll say that all of us on this call, I'm sure at one point or another has done a SWOT analysis. I think everybody's got to do one at some point. It's the old strengths and weaknesses, internally, and then the opportunities and the threats potentially externally, or the opportunity in the marketplace. What very few people do is take that SWOT analysis and turn it into an action plan, and that's really where this
Mhm.
LMNO comes in, which is, the reality is you understand what your strengths are, leverage those strengths, like use those strengths to your advantage. The things that are weaknesses, minimize that. If that is a weakness to your business, don't put it on display, but minimize, where that fits into it. And I'd say, again, when it comes to opportunities and threats, leverage those opportunities and find a way to overcome threats. You cannot escape from these threats. So find a way to overcome or adapt or embrace.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, put into
Okay.
action.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. You surprised me there for a minute. I thought, oh, we're going to the other side. That's cool. But I'm glad we're back on this one because I just think this is my favorite part of being a leader is helping the team grow. And if you're performing that competency evaluation, for your team, what's missing. What do I need them to have? What skills and strengths do I need them to have that they haven't quite developed yet? I need to understand those gaps so that I can help them pursue continued education. But I want to say too, that's not just about your team. That's about you too. Leaders are learners. We always hear leaders are readers, but leaders are learners. And if you're always looking in that mirror and checking yourself, how can I do better? What do I need to do better to take this team and this company, to a greater height? That's just as important. And, humble is the new cool. And being humble enough to recognize I can learn better and learn more. And then doing that is definitely part of the plan.
You
Yeah.
know, you gave me this vision, Indy, of early in my career of a leader that wasn't my boss, was the boss's boss. She always had a book with her. She was always looking for ways
Oh,
to
yeah.
learn, and that set the tone for most of at least the organization, definitely for her team,
Mhm.
where we all said, okay, you know what, I'm going to learn too. I want to develop too, and that's a whole different place to be. It's great.
Yeah. Because you saw that, the whole team saw it and thought, oh, that's what I need to do to, rise up in my career. I need to constantly be learning. And they're watching your team and taking note of what you've done and what you continue to do to achieve. And that's the note that they're going to take on what they should do as well.
That's great.
Heck yeah. So we've got a plan. Derik, you walked us through, like, we got an inventory where we are. Indy, like, continue to learn. How do we execute this? How do we engage our team to do the same thing? And this is where a team charter comes into play. We
Mhm.
spend the whole rest of the webinar on team charter for all of those of you that are taking notes. Make a big circle around team charter, because this is the way that you are explaining your expectations of how this team is going to work together. What are the guidelines, right? What's the purpose? Thinking, Indy, how do we fill in the gap for the things that we want?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to use my word because I think clarity is what the team
Yeah.
charter is all about. I mean, that's everybody coming together and agreeing on who we are, how we're going to do this, what our roles are, how we contribute to all that we're trying to do, clarity around what we're reaching for. I can't remember who said the quote about you can't go bowling if there's no pins at the end of the lane. It doesn't really mean anything. So I need to know where I'm headed. But the big thing for me is purpose. There's not a soul alive who doesn't want to understand what their purpose is, and they will feel that at work. And so I think that's a big part of a team charter and optimizing all that wonderful talent you have on your team.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Derik, make sure I'm not leaving you out of this as part of the conversation. Any thoughts on
Oh,
this one?
No, I was going to say it's absolutely critical. If you don't define these parts, the odds of you being able to build and drive a successful team that are all pulling in the same direction is almost non-existent. You need to spend the time and really define what makes that team charter for you. How does that get defined? And then how do you communicate that? So absolutely critical. You can't overlook this part.
Yeah, you made me think of the sleepless nights that we have as leaders where we're like, why did my team do this? Right. I assumed, we all know what happens when you assume. I assumed they knew what I meant when I said that, or what my expectation was, and we cannot leave that up to people guessing. It's bad news.
And I gotta say, I love this slide. I'm a big data nerd. I love getting data. And I always say that if you can't measure something, the odds of you being able to manage it is non-existent. Now, we are blessed in the IT industry, the MSP industry, with having access to a lot of information. But it is shocking the amount of people that don't hold themselves accountable or their business accountable by leveraging real data and reports. Right? You cannot be anecdotally successful, like you either are or you're not. You can't potentially partly execute on something. You either do it or you don't. And so having those reports, at the very least, being able to review those quarterly with yourself, your team, the company as a whole, not being afraid of sharing that information with your team, making them, feel success when they see that, that's absolutely critical. And I would say conducting those quarterly business review at the very least, that's what's going to keep everybody accountable towards that mission.
Oh man, great point there. And it looks like we got another
Absolutely.
poll for us to
Awesome.
get the crowd's feedback on. And also, while you're answering the poll, if you have questions you want to put in the Q&A, we will try to get to those. So Ari, let us know if any questions come in
For sure.
on any of these topics that we're talking about. We don't have to wait till the end. Go ahead and ask your questions now. Let's take a look at this poll.
Yeah, speaking of measuring things, how do you assess your effectiveness?
That's great.
Ooh, this one's got people stumped, I see here. They're coming in. So this is pretty insightful. Some those that are being vulnerable and saying, hey, you know what? We don't have a structured way to measure it. And I think that more of us fall into that category than we would like to admit. Maybe there's certain measurements that we have, but we don't have a way to really look at our overall success other than did we pay the bills or did we not pay the bills?
I love the honesty and vulnerability that we have with these polls.
Yeah, these are awesome.
That's great.
So great feedback. So regular feedback from my team and peers, the qualitative feedback, right? Getting those conversations to happen. That's where we all want to be. We're all try to get there as much as we can. Formal performance reviews, we need those, right? We cannot skip the formality of this. We also want to have that regular feedback. And then no one on the self-reflection and personal assessments. That's a hot topic for leaders. We do have to take a time, index our thoughts, get a chance to make sense of everything that happened today, and then give yourself permission to go out there and be amazing the next day once you've had a chance to go through that. So let's remember that self-reflection.
That's great.
Okay, man, time optimization. If only we could say we've got a secret on how you can get more than 24 hours in a day to run your business. We don't have that. No, we don't have that. But I'll tell you what we do have, as frustrating as it is that we don't have more time, is damn time management. It just rolls off the tongue. It's so fun to say. And that's making sure that you are delegating the things that you need to delegate, that you are prioritizing tasks, the arrangement of your day. Do not just wing it. And then monitoring how you're doing. Am I being as impactful as possible? Now, each one of these categories could be a webinar in itself. So maybe Derik, if you can chime in on this one, just kind of high level on these three topics.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say is time management. We all know it, especially as small business owners. Our time is our most valuable resource, to be honest, right? We're being pulled in a million different directions all the time. And I would say as simplistic of a thing to say is focus on those high valued tasks, right? The tasks that will have the highest amount of propensity for moving the needle. And I would say that your job as a leader is to find those low value tasks, those tasks that are repetitive, that are low value, whether you did it or not, they're important, but they don't move the needle, and find a way to put those at the bottom of your stack. It's often easy to do those small tasks, right away because they're small. The reality is you need to find ways to take your time back and focus your energy on those high value tasks, everything down below.
I love that. Take it back. I love that, Derik. Thank you. I'm writing all kinds of little things down from you today. And I just have to say damn time management because I'm dying to say it. So I just love it's going to stick with me forever. So I just want to dig in really quick. So delegate, as Derik is saying, those low hanging tasks. For one thing, if there's something that only you can do in your organization at the leadership level, you should be focusing on that and bringing up the rest of your team that you can delegate to. And I like to say delegating is teaching. If you're not giving them a chance to learn something, yes, they're going to fumble. Yes, they may have a little oopsie now and then. We all did coming through our careers, but that's how we learn. So find those things that they can try on, maybe fumble a little on, and to help them grow and become the next round of leaders. And then prioritizing those tasks, as Derik was saying. What's urgent? What are the 3 things or the 4 things I have to accomplish today because they're so urgent? And that helps me see that low hanging task that Derik was talking about, and then monitor, how's my time management? How's my energy management? Where's it going all day? To me, these 3 things work cyclically. They kind of just go around and around. And also, they're just also important to each other. I don't think it's a one and done. I think it's just something you do every day to understand what can I delegate today because of what's priority and what's not. And then let me monitor how this works. So tomorrow I can do it better and I can teach it better to my team.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome. And if you
I'm
guys
on fire
are feeling,
too.
you guys are feeling a little delegation anxiety, there's a
Yeah.
QR code on the bottom left that you can scan, and we have a webinar of conquering that delegation anxiety. And then we also have a question in our Q&A. Will we
Okay.
be receiving the slide deck after the webinar?
Good question. So we won't do the slide deck after the webinar. You will all, however, have an opportunity to schedule a meeting with Benchmark so that we can go through these concepts with you and tailor them specifically for your needs. So we'll meet for 45 minutes and spend all that time making sure that you are ready to start building your leadership playbook. So that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. And I love, Ari, how you have like a webinar within a webinar here. You can click on this webinar to
Like
yeah, make your whole day
inception.
about webinars. I love that. So when we think about delegating, maximizing our time, man, we get stuck in a lot of meetings. And meetings are important. We have to have them. They're like a necessary evil. It's just that we have to have good ones. So if you think of your meetings, like think of like a sports team, whether it's grade school or professional sports, meetings are like our practice. It's pulling the team together, getting them on the same page so they know how to go out there and perform. And if our practices are bad, our game is going to be bad. Right? So we've got to remember that this is our chance to get our team hyped up to go out there and perform. Let's make our meetings really count.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. Everybody on this call guaranteed, has dealt with that meeting fatigue. First of all, for some reason, every meeting's an hour. I don't know why, but every meeting tends to be an hour, even
So
though there may
true.
only be 15 minutes worth, because it's
So
okay to just
true.
schedule a 20-minute meeting. But, I would say that, running effective meetings, will buy you so much time and so much energy. You know, if you have too many meetings, you tend to waste a lot of time and there's a lot of repetition. So I would say that, just
Mhm,
making sure that you have those clear objectives, that there's an agenda, like just a basic agenda for the
mhm.
meeting. You understand what the call to action is, you understand the engagement you want, you have the right people in there to make a decision. And I would say that, you need to really, 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 have a good, strong idea for what you want that meeting. I always sort of relate an important meeting to like planning a webinar. If you were doing a webinar, you would really be thinking about like, all right, what should be the agenda? What's the structure? Where's the call to action? Where do we want engagement? What's the message I need to get across? And unfortunately, I think we've all become a little lazy with meetings, and it's like, well, let's meet and then we'll figure out, the outcome as we go. And so often you do an inventory. I sit there in a meeting and I'm like, we've been at this for 20 minutes and I don't think I haven't written anything down. I don't think there's been any value here. Like, come on, let's get to it. So I would say meeting efficiency is a key here.
Oh, it's very
Oh
true. And
man.
I'm seeing a lot of referenced clarity in this effective versus ineffective. I think that's very, very true. Just having that right structure is going to keep everybody engaged and informed and help them with that accountability. And the one thing I would add on an effective meeting with, under the necessary information is it's a good time in an effective meeting to acknowledge the milestones that have been reached in a project or things that are going, yeah, let's celebrate. We all want to be able to celebrate things that we're getting done.
Yeah, make the meetings like we got to leave those meetings in a good mood. And I've
Sure.
got a challenge for everybody on this call right now. 3 things that we want to make sure we start doing at the end of every meeting. So I'll put them up on the screen here. Okay, so ask
That's
these
good.
questions at the very end of the meeting to make sure that your message came out clear, Indy, right? So there's clarity in that message. I'm always surprised at how often people did not receive the same message that the leader thought that he or she was giving. So the first one is, okay, we had this meeting. What is the final outcome? And let everybody share their point of view. Are we all on the same page of what we decided here in this meeting? How will we cascade that information? For some of the smaller teams on this call, that just might mean how do we share this with our clients and our customers, or even our vendors and our partners? For the larger teams, it might be how do I go from the VP level to the manager level, right? So we've got to make sure that whatever we accomplish in this meeting is cascaded to the right people. And then here's my favorite one. At the end of every single meeting, ask everybody to rate the effectiveness on the meeting. What score would you give this meeting on a scale of 1 to 10? It's okay if you get 2s and 3s, because once you have that feedback, Now you know what you need to do to improve your future meetings, because you know you're going to have them. And we got to get them better and more impactful every single time. So let's move on to energy and drive as a leader. Man, like we just talked about a lot of things that we are responsible for as leaders, all sitting on our shoulders. We got to have the energy and the drive to be consistent with these day in and day out. And so let's start off with this first poll question. How do you recharge and stay energized as a leader?
That's a good one.
Yes.
We're going to get crickets on this one. They're like, what? I'm supposed to stay energized? No way. Got some
You're
really
not supposed to be tired the whole day.
Yeah.
I
It's
thought
kind
that
of
was
like,
part of
how
the
they say on the plane, when they say on the plane to put your mask on first and then for this
Yes.
is, if you're not taking care of yourself, two things happen. That sets a tone, and it also teaches them that that's not valued at the leadership level, which is, as we know, not true. You do have to take care of yourself to give your best to the team.
And
Yeah,
I'd say
absolutely.
your energy, it radiates through the team. Like when you're feeling pressure and down and stress, like everybody around you is the same way. And versus
100%.
cheerful and positive. So yeah, it's tough.
Yeah,
For
so
sure.
let's take a look at these results.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, some very so appreciate the transparency and honesty again. I struggle to find time for self-care.
Wow.
Man, we hear that from leaders all the time. And to Derik, to your point, right? You're losing that opportunity to radiate energy to the rest of the team. And I'm seeing some meditation or mindfulness practices.
Right.
A good one.
Yes. That is so important. Take time to do that every single day as a leader. That is a key part to that. So let's take a quick view of personal well-being. What are the categories that we need to make sure that we are considering here? Stress management, I think that goes without saying. We have to make sure that we are not showing our stress. Doesn't mean that we're hiding. It just means that we're not letting it run our meetings, our communication style, the way that we're hiding in our office, right? Don't let stress run the show. Fitness, man, not talked about enough. It is very important to keep yourself healthy. The company is relying on you, so don't undermine that. Nutrition, you are what you eat. The energy is going to come from that for sure. Your mental health, absolutely very critical. Ooh, sleep. Not sleeping ruins the whole rest of the day. How are you going to be the leader that you need to be if you don't have your batteries fully recharged? I know it's hard to get there. You've got to make that a priority for sure.
Yeah, the one thing I really wanted to stress is this sort of aspect of the external network. Now, in the MSP space, we are blessed with having a lot of access to peer groups and events and things like, leadership summits and coaching. Whatever you decide to do, it is very, very important that you don't disconnect from that external and just focus inwardly, because then every problem seems bigger, every challenges becomes overwhelming. And it's only when you are able to really talk to like-minded people that are either on the same journey as you or somebody that has recently completed a big milestone that you're on, you will find it. I find it, inspiring to talk to people like that. They share the same sort of problems and challenges. They have unique perspective on how to overcome those. So I would say that if, as a business leader, you owe it to yourself to really connect to those external sources, go out of your way to network and find people to be able to share ideas and really discuss all of this. How were you able to do this? How did you overcome this challenge? And I find it amazing how many people are willing to open up to you when you are honest and just say, I'm having a challenge XYZ. How did you do it? Did you ever deal with this? People love to help out that way.
Oh my God. And so much great learning comes from that. It's a great point, Derik.
Oh, I just have to chime in here. This is all about purpose for me. And connecting to it. And I have to say, your team wants to come into work every day and feel a sense of purpose. Actually, I think we always have. Everybody has. So I don't care what generation it is. And I say this in the book. It wasn't newly created, and it wasn't created, by a former generation. Purpose has always been around, and everybody is looking for it in what they do. And so, how do you connect to that? And how do you lead with that? Well, I think as it says here, your core values. Who are you and what do you stand for? And is that aligning to your actions within the company? If what you have said, this is what the company is about, these are our values, do my core values align to that? And am I leading through that every day? Personal mission statement, that's right up there with those core values. This is the who I am, but this is the what I want to show to the world. This is what my mission is, what I want to accomplish, and what that wants to look like. And some great, ideas here. Community involvement. Let me tell you, that's one of the three main things today's rock star talent looks for when they're joining a company, is how is it giving back to the world? Very important to them. They want to do that right at work. And then the last thing is feedback and self-assessment. Taking a look at yourself, as we were saying earlier, but also helping your team learn to do that and give feedback, not only to you, but to each other. And, my favorite part of it in leadership, beyond teaching others how to grow and help developing them, is celebrating those wins. Give them their moment. And, make sure that they hear that they're being acknowledged and celebrated for what they've done, whether it's individually or as a whole team.
And yeah, here you hear talk about celebrating a lot. And I will say this one slide, if as leaders, if we nail this one slide, it changes our company forever. Just that
100%. It
such a
brings the
big
heart into it, Ben. This engages the heart in what you're doing at your organization and how you're serving others.
yeah. And you know what? That's not that different than the next topic that we have. The last ingredient
Nope.
for our leadership playbook is accountability. And I say that because accountability sometimes is kind of like a dirty word, right? Like it's like, oh, I'm going to hold somebody accountable. And it's not. It actually connects to the heart, using your words there, Indy, of how important it is. So let's start off with a poll question. If you could improve one aspect of accountability in your team, what would it be? So we got setting clearer expectations,
Oh, okay.
more frequent feedback, holding difficult conversations when needed, creating a culture where accountability is seen as a
There you go.
positive.
Great.
Yeah, look at those answers coming in.
I love that.
Yeah, that's really good.
Wow. We almost got
And
everyone's
this is a
feedback.
tough one because all of these are important, right? So it's going to be just specific to your organization and your team. And let's look at this and go in your notes today, for all of you that are watching, in your notes today, make an effort to improve here. Make this real. Before you call it a day today, figure out how you're going to put this into your action plan.
Yeah, so
And
let's take a look at these results. It's creating a culture of accountability is seen as a positive is the highest one here.
That's great.
Yeah, that makes total sense. All these make sense. That one makes total sense. And by the way, it's not impossible to do. It just doesn't happen accidentally. It happens intentionally. So let's look at the 3 X's of accountability. Once we start to understand these, accountability becomes a little bit less scary. It really does. So the first thing as the leader is modeling expectations. And I know this sounds like an obvious moment, right? Well, of course I need to model expectations. Man, when you start observing CEOs in action, founders in action, it's really easy to see where we can slip here. And we're human, right? This is okay that we're slipping here. We just need to be on purpose when it comes to making sure we're modeling those expectations. Now that we're modeling them, let's expect the cascade. That means that it's easier for us to expect the same thing from our direct reports, from our entire team. The expectations that I'm modeling need to flow all the way through the organization. And then this third one here, by far the most important, pretty easy to do if the first 2 are being executed properly, and that is inspect what you expect. Now, this is not because you're looking to catch somebody do something wrong. This is because you're looking to use Indy's word, to celebrate their wins, to watch them do the good things that they are doing. And this way they know that they're going to be acknowledged for that. Okay. And of course, you may catch some things along the way. You want to be the person to catch it, not your customers or your clients that are frustrated because things aren't happening the way that they expected them to. So model expectations, expect the cascade, and inspect what you expect here. Really important.
And if you're interested in learning more about the 3 X's of accountability and creating a culture of accountability, Webception, we have a webinar QR code down in the bottom left.
So Ari, these
Nice.
webinars are all free, right? So they're complimentary. They don't have to pay for these webinars. Is that right, Ari?
That is correct.
That's pretty cool. And this is like better than Netflix. There's so much you could just binge watch right here as you're in the webinar. That's pretty cool. Eric, you're dying to hear your kind of take on accountability from your position.
Yeah, without accountability, you won't accomplish anything. Like the reality is you can put whatever plan in place that you want. You can, you can do everything correct and you can execute, but if there isn't accountability, it just simply will not happen. Now, the problem is in a lot of cultures and in a lot of organization, accountability usually equals blame. Like people see accountability like, oh, okay, so when this thing doesn't go according to plan, I'm going to get blamed. And it's really, really important to disassociate accountability from blame. Accountability is I am the person that is stewarding this activity or shepherding this objectives. Like it's on me. I will blow the alarm when things are not going well. I will ask for more resource, but accountability is the core. And building this culture of accountability where people want to embrace things because they know that they won't get punished, but they will be rewarded by the experience and the success is the key. And accountability is not just for other people. Unfortunately, there's a lot of self accountability. And that's the part where I look at myself as a leader and I look at things that I need to accomplish and I need to hold myself accountable. It's not okay to just be like, oh, well, I got busy, didn't do it. And it could be a little thing or it could be big things. And usually the little things become big things. So accountability is the key for the game.
Amen to that. All right, Indy, you've been chomping at the bit for
I'm
this.
dying. I'm dying to jump in. So thank you guys. I feel like I need a drum roll or a walk-on song here because I'm telling you, somehow accountability has gotten such a bad rap. And what
Yeah.
it really is it's rocket fuel to achieve something. It's your chance to shine. How many times do team members say, let me handle this? I know I can. I know, put me in, coach. I'm ready. Well, that's accountability. They're saying, let me do it. I'm ready. I want it. And so if you've done the damn time management, if you will, if you've done the competency plans and you've filled the gaps, your people are ready. So let them get that sense of accountability. It's not a dirty word. It is an opportunity to just lift off and show what you're really made of. And I think the vast majority of people love that opportunity. It's just we have to reframe how we look at it and how we communicate it.
You said something that really resonated there, Indy. You said a lot of things that resonated, but just now, as you said, rocket fuel. Yeah, every single one of us on this call got to our leadership positions that we're in because we had a mentor, because we had a boss that helped us get to this place, right? And I've heard the stories from everybody. Well, I'll tell you what I haven't heard. I've never heard a story say, man, the reason why I'm where I am today as the leader is because I had a boss that let me get away with anything, right? Like that's never how the story goes. The story never goes that way. It's always because my boss held me to it, gave me the opportunities, made me responsible, and I flourished as leaders.
Yeah, even let me stumble a little, right? Which, as I was saying before, we all did. Let me stumble a little. You have to choose wisely sometimes what you're going to let them stumble a little on. I understand, but that's their opportunity, and I just don't know many people that won't take that and run with it, happily.
Yeah,
great point.
I totally agree. Okay. I totally agree. Again, people inherently want to take on responsibility. Everybody does. The reason why potentially some of your employees don't is that they've been burnt before, they've been blamed for a negative outcome, and the reprimand made it such that they don't want to do it. But given the chance, people want to be accountable. What they want to be able to do though is understand how they're going to be able to adjust as challenges become real. So that accountability, again, it's not just an accountability for the end result, but it's an accountability for the process and the check-in and the early warning system that things are going wrong. And that accountability, it can be self-accountability, like looking at yourself and saying, hey, listen, I'm falling short on something that's critical that I should be doing. Or peer accountability, amongst the team members. You really got to be humble when you're accountable because you've got to be able to expose, listen, there's a problem here. My fault, somebody else's fault, doesn't matter. There's a problem. Let's overcome it so that the outcome is achieved. And departmental, right? Every department is connected together. It's a chain. So making sure that accountability is there across the board.
Can I just add one thing to this? I'm so excited about accountability. I can't help myself.
Of course, go.
So, because Derek's like inspiring the heck out of me today, Derik. If people are focused on how I can make something happen because it's my baby, I'm accountable for it. all of their energy, 100% of it goes towards that effort instead of the worry that now
Yeah.
accountability has. You know, they're even if it's 10% of their energy going to worrying about getting in trouble, that's 10% that might make a huge difference in what we're all trying to accomplish together on a team. So, yeah, free it up and just let them give it a shot and let them know this is yours. You're accountable, and that's a very good thing. This is your shot. This is your shot to do it.
And talk about it, right? And talk about it. So this is our
Yes.
last slide for the day. So we think about building a culture of accountability within our team, small or large. Make it a word that we talk about on a regular basis.
Hmm.
Derek mentioned a couple of times, self-accountability. As the leader, if you raise your hand, I'm accountable for this. It empowers the rest of the team to do the same, to say the same. And accountability no longer is a four-letter word. The team starts to realize, like, this is how we're going to win, right? Accountability is going to get
Yeah.
us there. But
Love
so
that. Love that.
so there you have it, everybody. The 5 components to building your leadership playbook. So hope you got some really good notes on this. Of course, we'll have the recording that goes out, and you're going to have an opportunity to schedule your customized, tailored meeting with the Benchmark team so that we can walk you through how you're going to build this leadership playbook, and then you can go run and execute it. So now for those of you that have questions, now is a great time to ask those questions. I'm also going to put on the screen here the QR code so that you can schedule that one-on-one tailored meeting, completely complimentary, thanks to Augmentt. And Derik, got to say, really impressed with your commitment to your customers, to your clients, to say, you know what, like, we're investing in you. Yes, we're going to help you on the technology side. We're also investing in you on the people side. You can just tell that you want your team, your partners to be successful, and you're putting yourself out there to be part of that. Thank you for showing up today and bringing
Awesome.
tremendous value as we went through this. I don't think anyone can get this anywhere else. So this is really cool. And what a commitment to the success of your team. It's great. Thanks, Derik.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Really, really appreciate it. You guys are great.
All right, make sure you get that snapshot of the QR code so you can schedule your complimentary meeting. Let's go through the leadership playbook together, build this out for you, and send you on your way so that you can go execute like a pro. All right, guys, any questions coming in? And if not, we'll wrap it up and get back to the real world here. We don't have to wait the whole hour, right, Derik? The meeting?
Efficiency.
3 minutes, let's go.
Meeting
Awesome.
efficiency.
Thank you, guys. This was fun. I appreciate being asked
You guys
and
are
for the
great.
time
Thanks, Dan.
together.
Thanks, Ari. Thanks, Cindy. You guys have been fantastic. And
I see lots of thank yous in the chat. Thank you guys for jumping in, hanging in there with us.
Everyone.
And looking forward to meeting you guys one-on-one.
thanks, guys.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.